you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
So in this podcast, this was after one of the recent shows on Twin Cities News Talk AM 1130, 103.5 FM, live on the iHeartRadio app, 6 until 9 a.m. Central Time. You can always check out the podcast if you miss any portion of the show as well. After the show, we did a post-show podcast, myself, John Justice, along with producer Robbie. Talked a bit about my entering into fantasy play with the Underdog Fantasy app. You'll hear about that. And reminisced a little bit about some times that I spent with my former host here on the show who passed away in 2022, my dear friend, Andrew Lee. Hope you enjoyed the podcast.
Boy, how long has it been since we've done a post show?
Obama was president? Oh, no, wait. I don't think.
Not quite that long.
No, not
It's been
quite
a long
that
time.
long. No. But yeah, it's been a while. Been a few months, and nice to be back.
We've been busy.
I feel like I just appeared on the Merv Griffin set. Nice to be back.
It's good to be back, everybody.
It's good to be back,
hey,
everybody.
How's
Yeah.
it going?
We have been busy. I've been traveling. You'll be traveling soon.
Yeah.
Logan's traveling.
Oh, my gosh. That trip. That trip I'm going on. So, real quick, since you brought it up. So, I'm going to Savannah, Georgia. You been to Savannah?
Yes, I have. Yes.
The hair is beautiful there.
Very nice there. Yes.
Hair is beautiful there.
Yes, really, really nice.
Tony,
You'll see the river that goes right through the downtown. It's really nice.
a river runs through it.
Yes.
Tony Katz, talk show host. He's a part of this group, the Liberty Fund, and they put on these conferences where they do these Socratic seminars. And so he reached out to me a while back, and he's like, hey, what's your personal email address? And so I gave it to him, and then I got this invite to go to this event in the first week of April. And he's like, you got to do some reading before you go. But it's a lot of fun. We'll cover all the expenses and all that. I'm like, all right. So I got to take a couple days off of work. So I'm taking that Thursday and Friday off. So they mail out this packet. I was going to bring it in today because we've got the digital summit going on. Got clients and stuff coming in. So we had some time to kill. I got this packet, this reading packet. Dude, it's so thick. So when I get home, usually take a nap, and then I spend an hour going through the material. And then I get back to work on the show. So Andrew Langer's going to be there, so that's fun. I've never been a part of one of these things before. I think I mentioned it on the air. I'm going to feel a little bit like Leonardo DiCaprio on the Titanic when he goes to dinner. I'm here with all you fine folks.
Yes.
It's going to be all about. They're going to be talking about freedom of the press. Essentially, and that fits in within the wheelhouse of what we talk about on the show, so that should be fun. But I'm looking forward to spending a few days in Savannah.
And I'm looking forward to filling in for you, taking over in your chair for a couple of days there, and we'll have some surprises in store.
So I want to talk a little bit, and since I'm talking about it, I have to do the required little verbiage here for Underdog Fantasy. So you got to be 18 or over, president of state where Underdog Fantasy operates, terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Got to do that before we talk about it. So Underdog Fantasy is this app, and they have this pick'em game, and you can play with the tournament. They've got the different stats, and you can pick higher or lower based off of the player's stats. It's really, really simple to play. So as I've been mentioning on the air, I've been playing with NASCAR, and it's really easy. Like, I'm a complete novice at this. You and I talked about it not too long ago.
Yep.
I was picking your brain on potentially getting into this. There's a podcast called
there's certainly NASCAR fantasy podcasts.
Yeah,
out
Dirty Modo. Dirty Modo. It's Dale Jr.'s podcasting network, and I like the hosts on there. So I have no idea the language. I can't speak the betting language.
Sure.
But I love listening to these guys talk about it. They're passionate. So with the Underdog Fantasy app, it's super easy. They have the players' average finishes for that particular track, and I just pick whether or not they're going to do, better, higher or lower. And I've been doing actually pretty well with it. So last week at Bristol, had it locked. Right, I was so confident going into the weekend. I'm like, it's going to be great. These drivers are fantastic here. I did this huge pick on these. And you can pick 2 to 5, and you can have some insurance ones where if you don't get all of them, you don't completely, you don't completely lose. You still get one. The race starts, and everybody's watching. I'm watching. I'm listening to the commentators, and nobody knows what's going on. The drivers are they're coming and going in the lead. Usually Bristol it's the half mile. Usually Bristol gets spread out, but the racing is really, really competitive. Nobody knows what's going on, and suddenly tires start to go. Within like 30 laps, people start blowing tires. And what they realized was nobody knows exactly why it happened, but because it's the same tire they brought to the race last year, but because it was colder outside, the rubber wasn't taking to the track. It was balling up like marbles.
Oh.
So the tires were shredding. So the tires were only lasting like 30 to 40 laps. At full speed, the guys were blowing tires left and right.
So why do they call it Concrete Bristol?
Because it is concrete.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
huh?
it's
Oh,
concrete.
it really
Yeah.
is, huh?
Yeah,
okay.
So they call it flying, jet fighters in a gymnasium because of how fast it
sure,
goes.
right, yeah.
For the past couple of years, they've turned it into a dirt track, so we haven't raced in the spring at Bristol for a long time. So the weather hasn't been this cool. So suddenly you look at the racetrack, and usually the rubber on the tires will build up. And so if you've got a tire that's wearing, the rubber, is a buffer to that, so the tires don't come apart. But it wasn't taking. They were just balling up and crumbling. So now suddenly the race is turning into this tire management race. So everybody is slowing down. They're having to manage their tires because the runs are like, 80, 90 some odd laps, and the tires won't last this long, dude. And I'm just watching all the drivers that I picked.
So were they making more pit stops because of this?
They couldn't
in the different stages. Like how was that working?
They couldn't because they only had a certain number of tires allocated.
Oh, okay.
So you are
right.
correct.
Not like a golfer going in for golf balls.
That was it. That was a very astute observation because you would think, okay, they'll just all have to start pitting in like 30 laps,
right?
But if they did that, they would start to the point where Goodyear actually started mounting a whole new set of tires to give to the teams because typically they're only allocated so many tires. So you had these guys that were driving like slow, just maintaining, staying on the lead lap. But they had the other guys that'd be like, you could just drive to the front if you wanted to.
Wow.
Now, if you did, you're going to run the risk of blowing your tires. So you have these guys sort of also rans that are usually, back of the field.
AJ Allmendinger and guys like that. Yes.
So they're all just driving to the front and be like, whatever.
Yeah,
dude.
whatever.
Their tires would blow and
Here
then they'd
I
have
go.
to go on back. So my guy ended up, because he's got a background in usually with the lower series when you're sort of starting off before you get into the NASCAR level, your late models. This is typically what you have to do. You really got to manage your tire wear because they wear out a lot quicker. You don't typically see it in NASCAR. So my guy Bowman ended up coming in fourth because he actually grew up. He knows how to manage his tires really well. But all of my picks in the Underdog Fantasy, I was crying.
Oh,
I thought I was so locked in, man. Thankfully, I didn't put forward the bank on it. I was smart enough.
Okay, you held back some.
Melinda's freaking out though. She doesn't. She doesn't like.
She doesn't
me.
like things.
She like it. I'm like, I have to, honey. It's for work.
Well, if you put just 4 picks, you can get 10 times your money. So if you put $10 down,
that's what it is.
$10, right?
Yeah.
So again, I'm not poo-pooing $10 here, but if you put down $10 and you pick 4 drivers, or let's say March Madness starts today, or you're watching the Wolves game, and you pick Anthony Edwards to go over 28 points, that would be one entry of your 4. So if you pick 4 right, but you have to get all 4 right, and then you would win $100, which again doesn't seem like a ton of money, but to turn 10 into 100, I wish I could do that every day.
So I've already got my picks for this weekend.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah,
and where are they?
They're at the Circuit of the Americas. So they're in it's in Texas, right?
Texas.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's the road course in Texas.
Oh, I'm not a big fan of See, I'm a very novice NASCAR fan, but give me the ovals. Give me the just the traditional ovals.
I don't typically like the road courses either. I used to be very adverse to them. This one I don't mind so much, only because Bowman does okay at this track.
Okay.
And the Circuit of the Americas is kind of a fun track. So, but I'm typically with you. I prefer the ovals.
Do you like the one that's upstate New York, Watkins Glen?
Yeah, Watkins Glen is okay. So they're all right. Sonoma's
They're
okay.
all okay? Okay.
Yeah, I think I probably like Watkins Glen over
Pocono?
Sonoma. I did at the Atlanta road course. It's pretty famous. When I was at the Rock Station in Atlanta.
Yeah.
When I was at 96 Rock, which was iHeart at the time. Was Brian Johnson lead singer of AC/DC, right?
I couldn't tell. AC/DC is not a band on my radar.
Right. It's got to be.
I mean, I know a bunch of their songs.
I got to make sure I'm getting this right. Let me just look it up. It's got to be Brian Johnson. Hold on. Brian Johnson, the original AC/DC. So he owned a race team. Yeah, Brian Johnson.
Okay.
So we went there.
Well done.
We got to interview AC/DC. He drove me. I got to be in a car with Brian Johnson. It was a race, a road course tuned Porsche. Most terrified I've ever been in my entire lifetime.
Really?
I scared the daylights out of me. Just
flying,
the squealing of the wheels, the corners. I kept my eyes closed. And I don't like roller coasters. I was more terrified than I. Now I wonder if today I'd be able to do it better knowing what I got into. But in that moment, dude, I was absolutely terrified. Even sitting next to the lead singer of AC/DC, which is cool. I would just get me out of this car. Just get me out of this car.
Get me out.
So I got some listeners that are going to be putting their own picks together with the Underdog Fantasy.
Yes.
So this weekend I've got. See, this is why I feel confident. So I got Denny Hamlin. He's got to finish better than 14th.
Well, he just won last week. So
exactly.
You would think that that's a layup.
Michael McDowell, who's really good on road courses.
Okay.
He's got to finish better than 12th.
All right.
And then Bowman, who actually almost won this race, who does pretty good on the road courses, I picked him. He's got to do better than 15th. And he got 4th last weekend.
Okay, so basically top 12.
Yeah, so $30, $30, $90 payout, 3 picks for $90.
3 picks, not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad.
I might do more. I think we got an F1 race this weekend.
And folks, if you do 3 picks, you get 3 times your money. If you do, you do six times your money. If you do 4 picks, you get 10 times your money. If you do 5 picks, you get 20 times your money, and that's the hardest one to get. But 20 times that is. 20 times anything is a lot. So.
And they'll match it too on your first one if you use the promo code TCNT, which is sweet.
Yes, if you use the promo code TCNT, if you put in up to $100, they'll match it
That's
up
fun.
to $100, and then you have $200 to play with. Yeah. So there you go. You can use that. You can spend that. You can use that for the next couple of months if you want to.
I got to when I went to Vegas. First time I went to one of the first times I went to Vegas. Not knowing how any of this worked. I think I told you before that we were driving down the strip one time with my buddy Mike, and I remember we should go to that casino. And he goes, "Why?" I go, "Because it says you got 99% payout."
Oh no!
And he was like, "You're still losing 1%." And I was like, "Oh, that's how big of a novice I was."
Didn't you tell me you once went on a trip to Vegas and you lost your partner in crime in a sports book? He disappeared to a sports book?
Yeah.
Completely disappeared.
Oh my gosh, Drew was so drunk. He was so hammered. So fellow host, so that was when we went to the Ride Online convention in Vegas. That was 2012. See, and I learned my lesson before that, because one of the first times I'd gone to Vegas, I was just playing slots and I made a ton of money. And I thought every time I go,
gonna beat this.
I'm going to win. And the next time I win, I became that guy that ended up blowing his rep money. I kept disappearing to go to the ATM machine to pull more money out because I kept losing and losing and losing.
Folks, the best tip I can give you about a night at the casino is leave your ATM card at home or in your room. Don't have it on you.
So Drew was already here. So he was already here. Oh,
so you had met him. So this was kind of a reunion kind of thing. So everybody seeing each other for the first time in a long time.
I guess now it doesn't matter, right? So, I forgot what organization put it on, but Ride Online, they paid for our expenses there, right?
Okay.
So we included Drew as still being my producer.
Oh, no.
So
he got his expenses paid, too.
Covered. So he
got his own room?
No, we shared a room.
You shared
together.
a room.
It was a huge room, though, at we're at the Venetian.
Okay. So that was really nice, I'm sure.
And it was like 2 levels. It was weird. Like you walked in at one level, then you went down steps to like the next level. It was really cool. And I'll never forget because we went there and we were playing the soundtrack to The Hangover. So Like the na na na, wait till I get my money right. Oh, right. This is a whole running thing with us all weekend long. So we had it in the room, and anytime one of us left the room or came back, somebody would go and play that song. So ridiculous the whole weekend. So on Friday, after the show was done, we split up, went and took naps, decided to get together for the rest of the day. And then we went to lunch, and it was this weird little bar that was like offset. It was like it was built to be like a kiosk for selling tchotchkes, but they turned it into a bar, and it was like Sin City Bar or whatever. It's this really tiny spot. So we ended up parking ourselves there, and we just decided to start drinking. So Drew started doing car bombs. It was like noon or 1 in the afternoon. And then it was just game on for the rest of the night. There was all kinds of different events that were taking place in the hotel. Stephen Cruiser I was friends with. He works with PJ Media. He has his Cruiser Cabana was going on. We ended up having a dinner with, oddly enough, we ended up having a dinner with S.E. Cupp, who I haven't talked to in forever. And Jesse Kelly was there. This was before he got into talk radio.
So humble.
Yeah. And we were already, 3 sheets to the wind at this point in time. So when we got done with that, that's when he disappeared.
Gone.
He went off to go gamble somewhere.
Sports.
He went to a sports betting. I went off with Jesse Kelly and S.E. Cupp. We ended up over like at Treasure Island doing like Cuervo shots. And then at some point in time, Abdul, who was a talk show host in Indy, who was best friends with Drew, I ran into Abdul because he was there for the event. And I was like, dude, have you seen Drew? And he's like, yeah, I think he was over at the sports book there. Right. I go, all right. He goes, why? I go, because I lost him. I haven't seen him for hours. He goes, dude, it's every time. I'm like, what? He's like, it's just what happens. It's just what happens. That's all.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that was a fantastic trip. Hung out with Katie while we were there. Yeah. Katie was funny too because Katie's just the best. She was there. She had come on the show that morning, and then we had said we were going to get together later on. So I met with her sort of early in the evening, and I was like, hey, you going here? You going here? She's like, no, I don't do any of that stuff, man. I'm not getting involved in any of that stuff. So he ended up, so he caught a flight back the next morning, and then, oh yeah, I remember I got like 4 hours of sleep, and I drove. So I was in Tucson. So I actually drove to Vegas. So he flew. That's why we did it, because they covered his airfare and I drove. So that's why we ended up handling it that way. And I remember that I woke up and I was like, "I'll be great. I feel fantastic. This is great." And I remember I went to get in the car. I go, "Nope, I'm going back to sleep." So I ended up checking out of the room, sleeping in the car for a little bit, and then it was like the longest drive home.
I'm sure.
There's no freeway. There's no like there.
Well, you take 15 south, right?
Yeah, but there's no like you would think there was a major highway to drive between Arizona and Las Vegas, and there's not.
Well, once you get
it goes
like
down
a
to
certain,
like 2 lanes.
Yeah,
It goes through cities. There's stoplights. I would have thought that there was just one major freeway that took you all the way there, but there might be now, but there wasn't back then in 2012. So
beautiful sunsets though as you're driving from Vegas down to
fantastic
Phoenix and Tucson.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Valley of the Sun.
Yeah, the only trip that rivaled that one just in terms of storytelling was the one where we went back east.
The DC?
The DC trip, and on the way back when the plane got diverted.
Diverted?
Yeah, there
with
was
Sam Sansevier.
No.
Just the two of you.
No. This was before. This was when we were both still in Tucson.
Okay. So it got diverted from DC too?
So we were flying from DC. We had a layover in Atlanta before we flew back to Tucson, and there was a storm that parked itself over Atlanta, and they couldn't land. So they're like, we can't land in Atlanta. There's a storm over. There's a major storm over the airport. We got to wait till it clears out. So we were circling for like an hour, 2 hours, and then suddenly out of nowhere, the pilot comes on and says, "All right, we can't land in Atlanta anymore. We got to divert to Charlotte, North Carolina." And
not far at all, though.
Within seconds, the plane turned and was just heading for the ground. They could. I've never been at altitude and then had a plane that controlled, but was like, we got to go land because they were running out of gas.
Okay.
So they had to get it on the ground as soon as possible. And so we landed in
Charlotte.
We landed in Charlotte, and we were both, and we were.
Now they put you up for the night, right?
No.
Oh, they did not.
No. We were both pretty hungover too at that point in time, because we were hanging at the Doubler the night before.
You had to call your boss though, right, and tell him, "Hey, we're stuck." Like.
So no, because we were into the weekend now.
Oh, okay.
This was a Wednesday through Friday deal. So we ended up landing in Charlotte, and then we're there with like all these other planes that had to land too.
Right, because they couldn't land in Atlanta.
Right. So then we finally took us back to Atlanta, and then we missed our connecting flight. So we ended up catching a flight from Atlanta to Phoenix, and Phoenix is about an hour and a half from Tucson, with no way of knowing how we're going to get back to Tucson. And I remember on the flight back, we both had like our in-flight entertainment, and we were both watching Dog the Bounty Hunter. And we were like texting back and forth. It was really funny. So we,
okay.
So we land in Phoenix, and Drew decides we're renting a car and we're driving home because this had been the longest day ever.
Right.
So we rent the car. He never forgave me for this, by the way. Always held it against Melinda. We're driving back to Phoenix. I get within like sort of the city limits just outside of, I'm driving back to Tucson from Phoenix. We get just outside the city limits, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, I think, at this point in time. And he lived on the far side of town. So he lived probably another 40 minutes.
On the west side?
He lived on the east side of Tucson.
On the east side of Tucson.
Yeah, I was more on the northwest side of Tucson. So we weren't that far from where I was. So I call Melinda up, and Melinda goes, "Hey, can you stop and buy some milk?"
Oh, come on.
And we
at 3 in the morning, she needed milk?
We ran out of milk. Can you stop and get some so I don't have to get any when we get up? And I was like, sure. And I'm on the phone, and Drew's looking at me like, what are you agreeing to? Right. And I hang the phone up. I go, can you pull over? Because he was driving. He was like, why? Because we need to stop and get milk. He's like, I'm not pulling over for milk. And I go, no, seriously, we need to stop and get milk. He's like, dude, I just want to get home.
You just went to a gas station.
I know, that's what we.
Okay. I was going to say, you didn't have to go into a grocery store for milk.
That's what we.
A gas station would definitely have milk.
That's what we ended up doing.
What was the over/under on the drive
down
from Phoenix to Tucson?
It was so funny.
You must have been speeding. You must have just wanted to get home.
Oh my gosh, he never let that one go, man. That was probably one of the stories.
Oh, the milk thing he held over you.
Oh yeah.
So he would bring it up in future conversations. Remember when we stopped for the milk?
It was like one of his favorite stories ever.
After the worst travel day ever?
He was one of his. It was
no. Here's the other question, because he didn't miss too many meals. How did you guys eat that day? Charlotte, Atlanta. Do you remember where you ate?
Yeah, because we had a bunch of time.
Did you get something at the airport?
Yeah, we ended up just pigging out at one of the airport restaurants.
Okay.
Never.
Okay. You're like, I'm hungry. I'm getting something to eat. I'm starving.
Never ever forget,
like a Chili's or something like that. Yes.
So funny.
Yes.
And there was a whole bunch of drama that trip. I won't get into.
Okay.
Holy cow. Yeah, that was fun. But yeah, it was funny. That was probably one of the stories that he liked to bring up the most was the milk one.
Okay.
Because all I had, even if the subject of milk came up, and he would just look at me and then be like, "You get the milk story." He's like, "Yeah, dude, I still can't believe you made me stop for milk that night." He was so pissed off.
Oh my goodness! Wow. Okay. Talk about a true underdog.
All right. Well, there you go. There's a post show. We haven't done
one. There we go.
Yeah,
we haven't done one in a while. Yeah.
A long time.
All right. Well, enjoy your. I'll get a March Madness plug in here and enjoy the basketball over the next few days. It's some of my favorite.
Have you filled the bracket? Have you filled the bracket?
I have. I'm in the office pool here. It's I'm not revealing any secrets. It's $5 a bracket. I don't know if you want me to help you get set up with that. If you'd like to fill one out.
I typically fill one out just for fun to see how I do. But I just guess.
Okay.
I usually look at Gonzaga and I go, they usually do pretty well.
Well, well, Connecticut's the favorite this year, but if I'm rooting for Kentucky, so that's the team I'm rooting
U of A's in it, right?
U of A is in it. Yes. You want to tell your quick story about what was on the TV when everybody was gathered around watching, and you're like, what's everybody watching?
Oh yeah. So I'll just real quick.
Yeah, we'll end on this note.
We'll end on this. Yeah, when I first got the job in Tucson working for the rock station, for the alternative rock station there, I got hired in March, and it was the start of March Madness. And, I mean, this goes back to 2000, right? So they're in like
and U of A was excellent during that era, by the way. Excellent.
Well, that would make a lot of sense.
They were really good.
So
and they won national championships.
So they're all crowded in the conference room.
Okay.
But we were in this really run-down Adobe site. It was like on a floodplain, and there were the big RF AM towers outside. And I'm not kidding you.
So you were on the ground floor.
We're on the ground floor, really old building, and there was a pie tin sitting in the break area, a metal pie tin upside down, and somebody had set a knife on top of it.
Yeah.
You could hear the AM station through the pie tin because the RF signals were so strong. Yeah. So I walk in, and they're watching on this picture tube. They're watching basketball, right? And I come walking in, and was that when I made the Zima comment?
Was it during the day or was it at night?
It was during the day.
Okay.
Because I was, like, surprised. Oh, that's right. I was surprised.
You were surprised basketball's on at, like, 1 in the afternoon, right?
So I walk in. They're all huddled around the TV watching. I have no idea what's going on.
No idea what's happening.
And I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, it's March Madness. And I go, that's basketball, right?
Did you get a look?
Oh, dude, yeah. I got so many looks at that place. It was right next to what that was, I think, the same day or the day after when I said I was so happy there was a liquor store next door because there's a brand new flavor of Zima out, and everybody looked at me like I was an alien.
Well, the last time I got a look was 2 weeks ago at Disney when I was on the Rise of the Resistance Star Wars ride, and I heard the voice of Obi-Wan say, "I have a bad feeling about this," and I burst out in laughter, and everybody looked at me. Really, really weird, but they didn't understand that we play it all the time on the show. But that's interesting, John, that you did not know. You were oblivious to the popularity of Arizona basketball, who are ranked second this year in their bracket. So they have a decent. Really? Yeah, they have a decent. So if you wanted to pick them in your bracket, it wouldn't be an outlandish pick to pick them.
All right.
So cool. So we'll see. Well, there we go. A positive sports related post show.
Hopefully, and we didn't talk about any food.
No, we didn't do any.
Usually
food.
we do a post show. We get on the topic.
Yeah,
of
we
food.
do. We talk about food.
Is there food today?
That I cannot confirm.
I feel like I thought I smelled some food earlier, but it could have just been sauce and making another waffle.
Or a 7th Avenue pizza. Yes. So, well, that's some food for thought there as we bid you goodbye.
All right, bye.
If you want to email me, justice@iheartmedia.com. You can also email talkshownerd@gmail.com. Before I let you go, if you like to read science fiction, I hope you'll take a moment and check out my science fiction space opera series, Embark. Treat yourself, a friend, or a family member with sci-fi. I wrote it for adults, but it is great for ages 11 plus. 7 books in all in the series, available on Kindle Unlimited if you subscribe to that service. Ebook, hardcover, paperback, and audiobook narrated by me. You can go to Amazon.com or you can go to mynerdworld.net. You can hit the links there to check out the books. But if you go to Amazon.com, just search for Embark and John Jon Justice. Here is the description of book 1 of the story. Follow a ragtag squadron of pilots and one reluctant hero on a journey of survival as they fight for their future far from Earth. With interstellar travel possible, pilot Taft Guardia prepared to travel to distant worlds. But when an apocalyptic industrial accident sparks a global evacuation, exploring the stars becomes a matter of survival. Meanwhile, a ruthless corporate madman with an armada of starships threatens every vessel not loyal to his regime. When a cryptic message from the past leads to what may be the only key to stopping him, it's up to Taft and his squadron to save Earth's evacuees before it's too late. Listen, again, if you like science fiction, space opera to be epic, filled with a lot of really cool tech, some romance, and a ton of action, that Embark is perfect for you. Again, head on over to Amazon.com, search for John Jon Justice and Embark, or mynerdworld.net. And remember, check out the show Monday through Friday, 6 until 9 a.m. on the iHeartRadio app, Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130 and 103.5 FM.